All right, how you guys doing today? We about to hop into Galatians chapter 4. First things first, don't make sure you like that video. Look, it's a full screen. Scroll a bit, like it, and then full screen it back up. You feel me? What I am saying is that as long as their heir is under age, he is no different from a slave, although he owns the whole estate. The heir is subject to guardians and trustees until the time is set by the father. So also when we were under age, we were in slavery under the elements of spiritual forces of the world. But when the time had fully come, God sent his son, born of a woman, born under the law, to redeem those under the law so that we might receive adoption to sonship. Because you are his sons, God sent the spirit of his son into our hearts. The spirit calls out, Abba, Father. So you are no longer a slave, but God's child. Since you are his child, God has made you also an heir. Formerly, when you did not know God, you were slaves to those by whose nature are not God's. But now that you know God, or rather are known by God, how is it that you are turning back to those weak and miserable forces? Do you wish to be enslaved by them all over again? You are observing special days and months and seasons and years. I fear for you that somehow I've wasted my efforts on you. I plead with you, brothers and sisters, become like me, for I became like you. You did me no wrong. As you know, it was because of an illness that I first preached the gospel to you. And even though my illness was a trial to you, you did not treat me with contempt or scorn. Instead, you welcomed me as if I were an angel of God, as if I were Christ Jesus himself. Where then is your blessing of me now? I can testify that if you could have done so, you would have torn out your eyes and given them to me. Have I now become your enemy by telling you the truth? Those people are zealous to win you over, but for no good. What they want is to alienate you from us so that you may have zeal for them. It's fine to be zealous, provided the purpose is good, and to always be so, not only just when I am with you, my dear children, for whom I am again in the pains of childbirth until Christ is formed in you. How I wish I could be with you now and change my tone, because I am perplexed about you. Tell me, you who want to be under the law, are you not aware of what the law says? For it is written that Abraham had two sons, one by the slave woman and one by the other a free woman. His son by the slave woman was born according to the flesh, but his son by the free woman was born as the result of a divine promise. These things are being taken figuratively. The women represent two covenants. One covenant is from Mount Sinai and bears children who are to be slaves. This is Hagar. Now Hagar stands for Mount Sinai in Arabia and corresponds to the present city of Jerusalem because she is in slavery with her children. But the Jerusalem that is above is free, and she is our mother. For it is written, Be glad, barren woman, you who never bore a child, shout for joy and cry aloud, you who were never in labor, because more are the children of the desolate woman than her who is a husband. Now you brothers and sisters, like Isaac, are children of a promise. And at that time the son born according to the flesh persecuted the son born by the power of the Spirit. It is the same now. But what does the scripture say? Get rid of the slave woman and her son, for the slave woman's son will never share in the inheritance with the free woman's son. Therefore, brothers and sisters, we are not children of the slave woman, but children of the free woman. A lot to take in there. A lot to take in there, for sure. Also, I will say that Muslim people, they are the descendants, not the descendants of, but they put their line of faith of lineage, whatever, through Ishmael, aka the son of Hagar, aka the son of the flesh, or born of the woman of the flesh, the slave woman. So if you didn't know that, they do that. I'm not saying anything bad about them. That's just what it is. I love looking at the KJV. It just kind of points everything out. And if you don't do this, I recommend doing this, reading everything twice or even three times over, which for me, I'm saying I read it once in NIV, read it once in a KJV to knock out the differences. I'm looking at the Greek also and cross-referencing if I have even more questions. Hear it again in editing. Hear it again through the sermons, and then read through it one more time after that in the chapter review of every video. So I'm getting very well acquainted with this. I won't say that this is the perfect method. I won't say that it's necessary, but I'm just saying reading it at least twice through or coming back to it and rereading it again, even on a different day or whatever, it's useful reading through it multiple times. And you're getting acquainted with it. You're letting your thoughts settle. You're letting God give you discernment through time, so that maybe something that didn't hit you in the first time, God is now giving you the grace to see on the second time. So the heir, if he's a child, he's nothing different from a servant or a slave. He's under tutors and governors all the time with the appointed father, even though he rules everything in the future. Even we, when we were children, were in bondage under the elements of the world. When the fullness of time came, God sent forth his Son, made of a woman, made under the law, to redeem them that were under the law, that we might receive the adoption of the sons. So, Jesus came so that we may be adopted into the family and become heirs also. But the thing that's throwing me is verse 3. When we were children, we were in bondage under the elements of the world. A lot of people like to say that children go straight to heaven because, they didn't have time to understand the gospel or didn't have time to, maybe even sin perchance. But if we were children and were born in bondage under the elements of the world, what exactly does that mean? Or is this saying something different because it was speaking of when the fullness of time was come? Is he referencing, the people of his time and not necessarily of us, or what the case is? It's just kind of throwing me a little bit. I think he's just saying when we were kids, Jesus didn't get sacrificed yet, but now he's chilling. So now we're chilling. And because we've been adopted, we are now sons, and God sent forth the Spirit of the Son into our hearts, calling out for God the Father to act within us. Wherefore, which reason, we are no more a servant or a slave, we're a son, and heir of God through Christ. For which reason, when you didn't know God, you did everything unto the nature of things which aren't God. But now that you have known God, or rather are known of God, so you know God, and you are known by God, now you're turning again to the weak and beggarly elements, whereunto we desire again to be a slave. And this is going back to, I think, Romans, when he was talking about, we're free from slavery now. Why would we go choose? We have the freedom to now choose whether we want to be in slavery or out of slavery, and you have that choice. And you also have the choice to rebuild the things that are broken down. Not saying that Christ is the minister of sin, but that we choose to sin and go back to it. And verse 10 also kind of threw me in the original reading because it was saying, you observe days, months, and times and years. Are we not supposed to follow the calendar? Or is he talking about the Jewish people that are still kind of prepping like they're under the law and whatever and following oh yeah, ripping Passover, we ripping everything up. I don't know. But is he talking about that? He says, I'm afraid of you. I wonder. I know he's not saying I'm scared of you, or maybe he is scared of you. You don't really know what a slave gonna do, but I want to know what he talking about. I'm afraid of. Check the Greek for that. So you could say you're terrifying me, but a lot of these are just literally, I'm at fear for you, or maybe he's at fear for them, not so much as he's afraid of them, but afraid for them. Yeah, New KJV, I'm afraid for you. I fear for you. I fear for you. I'm afraid. I have labored over you in vain. You know what I'm saying? He's saying, everything I did for you, is it useless now that you're just trying to switch up on me? And I ask you, be like me, for I'm just like you. You haven't injured me at all. What does he talk about? Injured me? Like, I know they're not hurting him, which is why he's saying you haven't injured me, but something's got to be something else. Wronged. Okay, you haven't wronged me. You haven't wronged me at all, right? You didn't mistreat me. You did me no wrong. You did me no wrong. Yeah. So you haven't injured me at all. Through my weakness of the flesh, I preached the gospel. Okay. See, I didn't like the NIV because I was wondering, what is he talking about through illness? Like, bro was sick, and so we just preached the gospel. But no, it's infirmity, which we know translates more so to weakness. So that's. I've heard some bad things about the NIV as a whole, but I also heard some good things. So I use it just to read through it, so it's more of Englishy. But the KJV, then we go into the poetic, more literal translations of everything. So, yeah, this says, through the infirmity of the flesh, aka through my weakness, is when I preach the gospel, because through the weakness we are made strong. Any temptation which was in my flesh, you guys didn't like, and you rejected it because you received me like an angel of God, or as Jesus Christ. And that's so much different than what he says in the NIV. He's saying here that my temptation, which was in my flesh, you guys didn't even like. Wait, or no, my bad. You didn't despise my temptation. You didn't reject it because you thought I was perfect. Okay, my bad. I read that wrong. But where's this blessedness that you speak of? Because I bear your record. I'm talking about what you guys were talking about, that if it had been possible, you would have plucked out your own eyes and gave it to me. And for which reason am I your enemy? Because I tell you the truth. They zealously afflict you and or affect you. And I think he's talking about a Jewish legalist here, because they want to exclude you so that you might affect that. Okay, I don't know what you're talking about, Paul. Don't know what he's talking about. Affect. Okay, so they pursue, or they desire, earnestly strive after. So they pursue you. Where were we at? They zealously pursue you, but they don't do it well. They want to exclude you. They want to kick you out so that you may pursue them. Basically, set them on a pedestal so they see you as higher. Or my bad. So you see them as higher than you, so you just zealously pursue them. It's good to be zealously affected, always in a good thing, and not only when I am present with you. And he's telling them, you should be, seeking after this goodness zealously all the time, not just when I'm with you. But little children of whom I work in birth again. And I don't exactly know what he means by travail here, so we're going to Greek it. To feel the pains of childbirth. So he's saying, my children, whom I have these birth pains again until Christ. Okay, so he's saying I'm hurting. I'm trying to make you guys sons of Christ. But, I'm saying I'm dealing with these pains until Christ is formed in you. And he's saying, I desire to be with you now. I don't necessarily know what he means by I stand in doubt of you, unless he's just saying, I'm doubting that you guys understand. I have doubts about you. Okay. I don't know who else to help you. Yeah. Okay. That's valid. That's valid. Because he was saying, and he even said to them earlier, I'm saying you should be zealous in good things, not just when I'm there. But he's saying, while I have doubts about you, I'm trying to be there so I can establish this now. And then when I leave, you can be zealously in the good things, not just when I'm there. And he's saying to the people that want to be under the law, don't you hear the law? You know that he had two sons, right? One by a slave and another by a free woman. He was the slave was born after the flesh, you know what I'm saying? Because it was one out of wedlock, and two was just, the Sarai got mad at him after he done did it. But the free woman was at a promise. That was God's promise, the one that we, are born under that. Now, when we're born again, we get the inheritance, it's the righteousness that we get when we get faith by that promise. That's a good thing. He's saying that's what we want to see. That's not slavery. We're not that one, okay? We're the good one. For which things are an allegory. Ooh, I don't know what that word means. I've heard it before. It's a part of it's like a simile or metaphor, whatever those are. Englishman, what's an allegory? Story, poem, or picture that can be interpreted to reveal a hidden meaning, typically moral or political one. Interessante. So he's saying these things paint a picture for what is to be, the moral or the political, whatever. So these things are painting the picture. But these are two covenants, one from the Mount Sinai, which gartereth to bondage or gendereth to bondage, which is Agar, aka, the slave woman that Abraham had Ishmael with. And I just want to see what with which gendereth means, because like, what does that mean? Well, which born? Okay, which made? Essentially, what born or what made? So this, which birth that covenant gave birth to slavery, and Hagar, Mount Sinai in Arabia, answers to Jerusalem, which is now in bondage with their children. And like we said, I think last video or 2 videos ago, these people in Jerusalem were using the fact that they were Jews from Jerusalem to put themselves above the Gentiles, trying to coerce them to do the law and do the works. So this answers to Jerusalem, aka the people there, and you're now in bondage with those children. So at first you were just slaves, but now you're slaving it up with them kids. You know what I'm saying? But Jerusalem, which above is free, which is the mother of us all. Wait. So Jerusalem, never mind. That whole last point I just made might not be the case. Never mind, I backtrack. For it's written, rejoice, the barren that did not bear not, broke forth and cried. For the one that didn't give birth, now the desolate has many more children than which she that had a husband. And it's written, you should rejoice, the barren that didn't have kids, break forth and cry. You that didn't give birth, the desolate has many more children than she that which has a husband. Now we, brethren, as Isaac was, are children of the promise. But then he was born that was born after the flesh, persecuted him that was born after the spirit. Even so it is now. Nevertheless, what says the scriptures? Cast out the bondwoman and her son, for the son of the bondwoman shall not be the heir with the son of the free woman. So then, brethren, we are not children of the bondwoman, but are free. All right, that's going to be the end of the chapter. Hope you guys have yourselves a fantastic rest of your day. Peace.